boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Back with another reflection on the Daily V. And if you weren't tuned into YouTube for that, and you just heard the audio, then you missed out on a lot of goods that were being delivered just then on the dancing side of things. There's more of that where that came from, though. Keep tuning in, and maybe I'll show a few more moves each ep. This reflection and every reflection on Daily Vedantic is just a few minutes to orient towards the higher, the timeless. All going back to the 5,000 plus year old philosophy of Advaita Vedanta, the oldest philosophy on the planet in terms of continuous study, and the practice within this philosophy, the most important, is to study and reflect daily. In other words, listen, reflect, contemplate. It's the simplest practice. It's barely even a practice in comparison to other world traditions that might have 12 different rituals, 15 different sacraments, a bunch of different life stages in which you've got to do. This philosophy in comparison is in stark contrast. The practice is to study and reflect, to listen and then reflect on what you listen to. My goal with this podcast project is just to be an accessible on-ramp to get people to the real thing, whether that is reading a book like Vedanta Treatise, written by an actual master in this philosophy, whether that is signing up for, you could actually sign up for the online lectures, the same ones that I listen to and study, reflect with every morning with the ashram that you can tune into in India from the comfort of your couch, wherever you are on the planet, which is nuts that that's possible in 2025. So nuts. Compared to 60 years ago, you'd have to find a sage in a cave up in the Himalayas. Now, you just reach into your pocket. But this, and I've always made it clear, this entire project is just to be the on-ramp to the real thing. I am just playing the hits from the masters and nudging people. After 4 episodes, after 54 episodes, nudging people to listen to the real thing. I put all of those links into the show notes, and you can find the sages within this philosophy of Vedanta with a few clicks, a few Google searches. And I put the links of my favorite, the most accessible, the most articulate, the most refined versions of this philosophy. I put those links into the show notes of every episode. And this episode, this reflection for today is a simple reinforcement, a reminder of the simplicity of the practice within Vedanta. There are other practices that are kind of colloquially mentioned within this philosophy. I'll mention things like question everything. Don't take anything for granted. And study, reflect daily. I'll mention those 3 all the time as daily practices within this philosophy. But really it comes down to, how would you even know to question if you didn't listen to the principle of the value of questioning? How would you know the value of not taking anything for granted, from the promotion you might have got last week to a cancer diagnosis you might get next week? Don't take anything for granted. How would you discover the value of that if we didn't listen to the sages, the timeless truths of a philosophy like Vedanta? Therefore, it always comes back to the most important of those 3: study, reflect daily. Now, why is it study and reflect daily? It's because the virus of attachment can be caught, with dinner with a friend, an email about your sibling that just got engaged and you feel like, wow, I'm really behind in life. You get breakfast with a friend and they just got the promotion you've been aiming for years. They just found out they're pregnant. And and you've gone through 3 miscarriages. You see a commercial while watching football that highlights, you know what, I need a vacation. I do need a vacation. The virus of attachment is everywhere. And there is no cure. There is only an inoculation that lasts about a day. And that's starting your day, ideally before the sun rises, with study and reflection on these timeless truths. You could absolutely study Aristotle, Augustine, Hegel, the Buddha, but study something that is rooted in the timeless. Study something that is rooted in the timeless, and that is your grounding wire to inoculate you from that inevitable exposure to the virus of attachment that we just said in a recent episode is the root cause, according to this philosophy. The virus of attachment is the root cause of all of our suffering, all of our miseries, all of our dissatisfaction, all of our fear, our anger, our stress, our sadness. One thing, according to this philosophy, one thing is the root cause for all of those. And what is the value of study and reflection? It inoculates us from that virus. And one thing I'll call out on this reflection, on this reinforcement of the power of reflection, is that if you have not read The Holocaust of Attachment from Swami Parthasarathy, if you've heard me talk about it, if you've seen maybe a link to it in the show notes, I'm going to link to it to the top. I'm going to pin it at the top of the show notes to this short episode, because that is the book on the problem. There are many, many books out there on the solution. Vedanta Treatise is, I think, the most straightforward, analytically written, beautifully articulate, simple, no woo-woo approach to the solution, to the root cause, to the path, to not only the higher, but the path towards satisfaction, towards a nearly effortless existence. So, in an effort to be an on-ramp, this episode, this reflection, this reinforcement on the power of reflection is a nudge towards reading and reflecting on just how powerful our attachments can be. And this episode is a reminder on the stark contrast of the simplicity of the practice within Vedanta in comparison to nearly all other traditions. And this one practice, as simple as it might seem, it is even more powerful than it is simple. And that is today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.